podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to Zero Pucks Given, the UK Ice Hockey Podcast. We're in partnership with the Hockey Art Co, hockey clothing for hockey people, worn by the best and hated by the rest. Listeners to Zero Pucks Given get a 10% discount on everything site-wide at hockeyartclothing.co.uk. Just use the code ZP10 upon checkout to get your discount. We are also sponsored by Manscaped, redefining the gentleman with top-of-the-range male grooming products. Listen out a little bit later in the episode for more details about Manscaped and their products, particularly the Performance Package 5.0, giving a massive saving, plus you can get 20% off and free shipping on all Manscaped products when you use the code ZeroPucks, all caps, all one word. We are also on the Sports Social Podcast Network. You can find all the episodes there, as well as a wealth of information and sporting podcasts from different sports from around the world, all on their website. This is episode 82. I'm Ben. Welcome along. We've got the match reports from an exciting weekend of South Cup action, along with a couple of league fixtures, the exclusive coaches' thoughts, player of the week, and a look at the table. Firstly, a small bit of DOPS news. Tom Ravenscroft for the Oxford City Stars has received a mandatory one-game ban for getting a 5+ game kneeing penalty in the victory at MK Thunder. The Stars have a weekend off this weekend just gone, so Tom will serve that on the first weekend of March, as of course there's no League or South Cup fixtures next weekend, as we have the League Cup final. So he will miss the game away at Streatham on the 3rd. So we will get to the match reports from the weekend's games before we discuss what the weekend's action now means in the league. And then hopefully later in the week we'll be catching up with both finalists before they go head-to-head over 2 legs next weekend. So with League and Cup action from the Britton Division, let's get cracking. And as always, we start with the 5 p.m. face-off at Planet Ice in Gosport. The Invicta Dynamos rolled into town for this league fixture, where these two are pretty much going head-to-head over who gets home advantage in the playoff quarterfinals. 4th and 5th is virtually guaranteed for these two. It was a competitive start, as always, on the smaller pad, and the home side had an early power play chance after Oliver got 2 minutes for charging on 1:46, but the Moes killed off the penalty. Roles reversed on 8:44 when Wild sat for 2 for interference, but the Devils' penalty kill held strong. Bell then sat for 2 for slashing on 11:18, but it was defensive special teams coming out on top. The visitors did take the lead, however, when Oliver assisted Mads Doon for 1-0 on 15:37. The home side also had to kill off a Mark Pitts charging penalty on 17:35, but the first finished 1-0. Into the second, and a disjointed start as both teams almost cancel each other out until dogged work from the Devils dragged them back into the game, with Pitts and Coleman assisting Alex Murray for 1-1 on 31:01. Another charging penalty for the Moes after the goal when Thune sat for 2 on 32:54, and this time the Devils got what they were looking for when Pitts assisted Alex Murray for his second for 2-1 on 33:58 power play goal. The Moes trying to keep their cool, although not all cool heads prevailed, and after an incident on 36:11 that saw Mark Pitts get 2 for cross-checking, Dan Scott get 2 minutes for cross-checking, 10 minutes for instigating, and 5+ game for resisting an official. We'll see if anything comes of that next Friday night. Into the third, and with it being such a tight attritional game, chances were at a premium, and the Dynamos had a power play chance when Perella Fox sat for 2 for interference on 49:31. But after returning to full strength, the Devils extended their lead when Steve Osborne went unassisted for 3-1 on 52 flat. The Devils then had to kill a Liam Coleman slashing penalty on 53:06, followed by a Joe Llewellyn charging penalty on 56:07. But in that power play, the Moes got one back when Stano Laschek scored unassisted for 3-2 on 57:03. In an attempt to force overtime, Owen Ryder was pulled for the extra man on the ice, but it was the Devils that dealt the final blow when Mark Pitts grabbed his 3rd assist of the night for Dan Lackey to get an empty net goal for 4-2 on 59:35. Owen Ryder and Mark Pitts take the beers. As for Solent, it will seem like a long 21 days before the Stars make their way down to Gosport, whereas the Dynamos will face the MK Thunder at the Stables on Sunday. After the game, Solent Devils player coach Alex Murray gave his thoughts to ZPG.
Yeah, Saturday saw us take on Invicta for the final time this season in the league, and it's been a great battle between our two teams, and luckily for us, we've come out on top in the previous three. And I think Saturday was just about making sure that we maintained that high performance level against them. I think they're a great outfit. They've got a great team, and they've really bounced back, with their new setup. And it's always a tough game, but I think the guys came out to play really well. I think after the Romford game, we talked about being clinical, but we didn't really have that clinical instinct in us to start with. And even though through the first, period, we're pretty dominant in the shot count, and especially in the second period, where we found ourselves behind in the game, and we're just not staying focused during those periods of time when we have, a percentage of possession and chances ourselves, which is the majority in our rink, and then the opposition get a counter-attack or, a rush, and we end up conceding and find ourselves on the end of a goal against or even a loss. So, Saturday was all about making sure that we remained calm. We said after the first that if we keep shooting as much as we do, there's bound to go in, and we got that in the second. We took a 2-1 lead into the third, and that became a 3-1 lead. And whilst they pulled one back on the power play through last check, I think we were pretty calm and experienced, controlled in the last few minutes when they pulled the goalie. We used our timeout well, I feel, and we got this one right. And there's been many games this year down to the crunch that we haven't got it right. So it was good to see that through. The experience that we have in the lineup has helped, and it's a positive and a confidence boost for us that we saw that game out and got an empty netter, because ultimately, looking ahead now, which is what we can do for the playoffs, it's very likely that we may end up playing Invicta in the quarter-final stage, which is slightly unheard of, but it's where we are this year in our placings, and so we've got to get ready, and everything we're doing is gearing up for those playoffs. We've got a 2-week break now, which is good because we've got a lot of injury in the squad, so it's about getting guys back fit and having a good, strong end to the year.
Saturday night saw Britton Cup action for the top two after their league clash last week, resulting in an OT win for the Jets. The Red Hawks headed to the hangar, bludgeoned by injuries, suspensions and unavailability, having just 12 skaters, including 4 D-men, to face the top point-scoring side in the league. And it was put to the test very early when Jared Lane sat for 2 for tripping on just 7 seconds. After killing that penalty off, the Red Hawks then had a power play chance when Lingren sat for 2 for kneeing on 8:06. The Jets killed off the penalty but did find themselves behind when Ethan Lane assisted JJ Pitchley for 1-0 on 15:40. The visitors, however, would start the second on the kill after Miles was given 2 for roughing at the end of the period. The Jets were then back on the penalty kill themselves after Christian Moore sat for tripping on 23:16, and immediately after returning to full strength, conceded again when Waller and Beasley assisted Ethan Lane for 2-0 on 25:26. The penalties on both sides at the halfway mark when Harmon and Waller sat for 2 for charging and kneeing respectively on 29:33. As the third got underway, Ben Painter's boys laid their marker down firmly and extended their lead when Jared Lane went unassisted on 40:43 to make it 3-0. And despite a Slough power play in the third, that is how it finished. The current league leaders shut out on home ice by their chasers in the Cup. For Slough, a chance to rectify on Sunday with the Britton Cup trip to Chelmsford. For Streatham, an opportunity to tie up the league title with the visit of the Buccaneers. The late game on Saturday saw the Chelmsford Chieftains head to the Thunderdome to face the MK Thunder, Cam Bartlett serving the last of his 4-game ban, with Dom Ray and Craig Bradfield in the pipes, and it was the home side that drew first blood when Hagger and Cox assisted Ben Davis for 1-0 on 3:42. The Chieftains had a power play chance when Julian Smith took 2 for hooking on 11:24, but it went to 4-on-4 a minute later when Kieran Rayner took 2 for tripping on 12:35, but no further goals. Into the second, and it was the home side again that started on the front foot and doubled their advantage. Davis and Austin assisting Josh Hickman to make it 2-0 on 22:03. With Chelmsford's heads in a spin, they found a pathway back into the game with an unassisted goal from Dan Hitchings on 36:01, leading to a brief smell of madness as Rayner and Hickman had a disagreement, as did Pickering and Howe, seeing all 4 head to the penalty box for 5 each on 36:42. So with both teams still even-handed, the visitors made it a tied game when Jameson and Lack assisted Grant Bartlett to make it 2-2 on 38:52. The Chieftains would start the third on the penalty kill after Ollie Baldock was given 2 for unsportsmanlike conduct. The third saw the Chieftains start to get their systems going and up the pressure when former Chieftains captain Julian Smith made his second trip to the box for tripping on 51.02, but again the Thunder held strong with a reliance on Craig Bradfield. But when George Howe sat for two for hooking on 54.16, the deadlock was broken when Grant Bartlett and Jameson assisted Alan Lack with a captain's goal to make it 3-2 on 55.09, power play goal. That night shocked the visitors fully into life, and they put the game away quickly with two more goals in less than 60 seconds. Firstly with Barnes, Garner and King assisting Damon Porter for 4-2 on 55.44, and then Lack and Huggett assisted Grant Bartlett for his second on 55.55 to make it 5-2 to the Chieftains. A road win that required a lot of hard work, Julian Smith and Alan Lack winning the beers as the Chieftains prepare to host the Jets, whilst the Thunder will head to Invicta. Sunday night to the stables in Gillingham then as the Thunder headed to the Mo's backyard, and a fiery start to the game saw Ben Davis take a 10-minute misconduct penalty on just 2:44. Some penalties followed for both sides as Stokes and Cox sat consecutively for interference and slashing, but known goals mainly down to Matt Friend and Dan Norton in the pipes. The deadlock was broken on 18.09 when Thune and Dell assisted James Laming to make it 1-0 even-handed on the breakaway. A really tight second period as MK Thunder seemed to have taken to frustrating teams to the point of lost concentration, but the Dynamos did manage to double their lead when Laschek and Saw assisted Ruskin Springer Hughes to make it 2-0 on 38.02. As the third got underway, the visitors looked to make the night a little more uncomfortable for their hosts when they pulled one back early as Mead and Austin assisted Jason Hickman for 2-1 on 42 flat. But the Dynamos quickly resettled and had their very own Holy Trinity to thank again as Saw and Springer Hughes assisted the evergreen Stano Laschek to make it 3-1 on 44.22. A little succession of penalty kills for both sides before the Mo's put the game to bed when Tom Saw went unassisted to make it 4-1 to the Dynamos. Not a classic by any means, but the hard-working wins are the ones that feel the best. Both Netties taking the Man of the Match awards tells you the story of the game. And after it, Dynamos head coach Carl Lennon gave his thoughts to ZPG.
A bit of a mixed weekend for us. Started down in Solent on Saturday where I thought we had a really good start to the game. We looked pretty solid and compact and we were limiting their scoring chances and were good, I think, for the 1-0 lead that we took going into the period break. And I think probably we're a little overprotective of that lead in the second period where we really sort of took our foot off the gas a bit and tried to protect the goal more than we tried to attack it. And ultimately they snuck in with a goal at 1-1 and then took advantage of a power play, which we probably would want back in terms of the way it was conceded. And then closing the period out, I think about 5 minutes left, we lost Dan Scott to a 5-minute major in game penalty, which put us right up against it for the remaining part of that period and the beginning of the next, where the guys did an absolutely sterling job of protecting the net, and we really limited their scoring opportunities and actually were pretty good during that 5-on-4 penalty kill. But obviously that takes something out of you, and I think not long after it, Solent scored their 3-1 goal, which put us right up against it. But the boys showed great character. They battled their way back in, and Stano scored a nice finish that got us back to 3-2. And then it was a matter of sort of throwing everything at it. And of course, in the last minute of the game, we pulled the goalie. They scored the empty netter and a 4-2 loss, which is disappointing. That's our fourth loss against them this year, which is the only team that's escaped us so far in the regular season. And, we can only really have ourselves to blame for that again. So, a bit disappointing, and obviously I think that sort of carried over a little bit into Sunday's performance. We started very slowly, and we didn't play to the right intensity level at all against Milton Keynes, and they probably were themselves quite happy with their performance the night before. Nonetheless, we went in 1-0 up, which was probably a compliment to us than it was more to them. They were very good on Sunday as well. And throughout the course of the game, we increased our intensity and played better as the fixture went on. But, ultimately, I don't think it was a strong performance from our side. And I think actually, now we need to use these next couple of weeks off, which we have, to sort of refocus, recenter, recalibrate before we get back to the sort of closing weeks of the season. You know, when we arrive back, we'll probably have no more than sort of 5 games, I think it is, and probably a month or so of hockey left to play. So now's the time to get our heads back in it all, and to use this time to, you know, just get away from those injuries that have been plaguing us for the last few weeks, and try and get somewhat back to full health, ready for that final push.
Sunday night at the Riverside saw the Britton Cup continue to throw up incredibly competitive games as the Slough Jets looked to banish the memory of last night's home shutout, headed to Chelmsford where it was charity night raising funds for Cancer Research UK. The home side, donned in a purple, pink and blue charity jersey, saw the Jets in their home colours and nearly going behind after just 17 seconds when Cam Bartlett had a go at Massey. But they found themselves on a penalty kill early when Dreelan sat for tripping on 2:04. The Chieftains were moving the puck very quickly across the zones and causing problems. After penalties for both sides were killed off, the Chieftains did take the lead when the puck bounced out from the attacking area for Jay King to sweep past Massey from the blue line for 1-0 on 12:39. The home side doubled their advantage when hard work from Grant Bartlett got the puck to Dan Hitchings, who sourced across the attacking zone from the half boards where Cam Bartlett finished with a back post swinger to make it 2-0 on 16:32. The Jets had a power play chance towards the end of the first, but the score remained the same. As the second started, the home side found themselves with a period of 5-on-3 after Hatfield and Minter took successive tripping penalties for Slough, but they were unable to make the Jets pay, and instantly regretted it after Rayner took 2 for interference on 24:07. The lead was cut in half when Erskine and Lindgren assisted Ty Cathcart to tip in from close range for 2-1 on 25:55, power play goal. The Chieftains then survived another interference penalty, this time Baldock in the box, but with both teams even-handed, a long shot from Seb Moore caught Lauday unsighted and made it a tied game at 2-2 for 31:03. More penalties followed as King sat for 2 for slashing on 32:46, then Ethan Reid for delay of game on 36:06, but as the period was drawing to a close, a scramble in the crease saw the puck end up in the goal on 39:45, credited to Jacob Soper. Due to arriving late, I was actually at the goal end, and it seemed to be a popular opinion that it was kicked in, but the goal was given. But after the video has been reviewed, it was proved that was the correct decision. The only skate it touched was a defender's, but a second to forget for the Chieftains as their lead has been completely 180'd on them. The third saw a change of shirt for Damon Porter after a couple of blood injuries, and then a ridiculous amount of penalties as the home side appeared to lose their discipline, both from losing their lead and from the strange manner in which the game was being officiated. I don't really like having a dig at the refs because without them we don't have a game, but when some of the most experienced players on both sides have the most bemused and confused looks on their faces about the calls that are being made, you do have to wonder, you know, whether indeed they are right. After multiple penalties for both sides, a couple of scrappy fights, the game was put to bed when Redmond and Seb Moore assisted the league top point scorer Jack Goodchild to make it 4-2 and gain Slough their first win in the Britton Cup. Man of the match honours to Redmond and King as a weekend off now for the Chieftains, and a League Cup final beckons for the Jets next weekend against Streatham. The final game of the weekend then saw the Romford Buccaneers travel to the Streatham Redhawks. The Buccaneers assistant captain Ellie Wakely making her 100th appearance for the Bucks. Congratulations to Ellie. And the home side knowing 2 points will be enough to make the title theirs again. A feisty first period saw the Redhawks try to attack their visitors, who defended very resolutely, killing off a couple of penalties and forcing Milton into a save or two as well. But Sonny Phillips' "thou shalt not pass" mantra was going well. Into the second, and the home side killed off a Pater penalty before Dervish took a seat, and then the Redhawks took the lead when Watt assisted Ziggy Beasley to make it 1-0 on 25:37, power play goal. As the Bucks were trying to hold strong through the second, the home side grabbed 2 quick goals to exert their dominance after Benny Lee Newman went unassisted for 2-0, and then Watts and Brittle assisted Ziggy Beasley for his second on 34:46. At the start of the third, a wish came true. After my chat with Brindley Caps a few weeks back, he answered the question, which goalie do you want to score on the most? The question was from the very man who was indeed the answer, Danny Milton. I'm sure he let out a sigh when Caps went unassisted to make it 3-1 on 40:48. The Redhawks continued to keep their discipline and killed the game off when Brittle assisted Ziggy Beasley for his hat-trick, making it 4-1 and giving the Streatham Redhawks the 2 points they needed to retain their crown for the 4th year in a row and book their place at Coventry at the end of April. Long and Beasley with the Man of the Match awards and celebration time on the ice for the Red Hawks. After the game, Jason Buckman shared his thoughts on the Buccaneers' performance.
First off, I'd like to congratulate Streatham from the Buccaneers on their league championship. Certainly been the most consistent team all year, and they've set a high bar to reach for the rest of the league. Yesterday's game was, again, as it always has been this year with Streatham, a competitive game. Felt like first period and third period certainly on par with them, tying both periods. Kind of lost our way in the middle period, and that's where the damage was done. But now we look forward to finishing our league games and hopefully move into the playoffs in a strong position.
And after a 4-point weekend and clinching the Britton title, Ben Painter gave his thoughts to ZPG.
We went into Saturday away at Slough to keep our sort of unbeaten run in the Britton Cup going. We know going into that place it's always going to be, we're always in for a game, and we know what they bring. They're a good, young, fast team. And we were very short benched. I mean, we went into that game with 10 guys unavailable through suspension, injury, and a couple of guys unavailable. I mean, 12 skaters, and we had our back up against the wall going into that game. I think going in there with 12 skaters against a team that are very good and fit and fast, we knew we had our work cut out for us, but we had a game plan, and we just mucked it out. We just went in there and just got it done. It wasn't pretty. We weren't playing fancy hockey, but we kept it basic, kept it simple. We worked smart, and I was very pleased at how we went to work for each other and picked each other up. And as 12 guys going at it, 12 skaters, and then obviously goalies, but 12 guys out on the rink going at it, backed up by Milts just doing what he does. Very pleased to leave there with a 3-0 win to keep us 5-0 in that Britton Cup and going strong in that. So I was very pleased with that result. And then we go back to Streatham on the Sunday night to play a young Buccaneers team that are getting better and better as the year's going on. I think they've got a lot of young guys that probably hadn't played much senior hockey early in the year, and they're really growing into the sort of the senior game and getting better and better. And they've caused some sort of upsets along the way, and they've given sort of a lot of teams a real good go. So I mean, they only took Slough to overtime last weekend, so that shows that they're a team that can really play, and you can't take them for granted. They seem to be getting stronger and stronger as the year goes on. So we knew that we were going into that game, and 2 points would seal the league up for us. And we had I was very pleased with the reaction, the way that we approached the game. We were professional. We got the job done. It was probably some of the nicest hockey I've seen us play in a little while. We had a couple of guys back that were available again. It was great to see the way we played, the way we created chances, and Sonny really sort of had a great game in net, I would say, and kept us at bay for, I think, a period at least. It was one of them games that we just kept with it, and it was good to get the league wrapped up and to do it with 4 games to spare was nice. And so now we turn our attention to the cup final next weekend, which we know we're going to have to be at our best to secure that, and then on into the Britton Cup and the playoffs.
Well, another cracking weekend. The title is decided. In all honesty, I can see the table staying exactly the same as it is now for the remainder of the season, with the games that are still left to come. A massive congratulations to Ben Painter and all the boys at Streatham, a thoroughly deserved title, and a chance next week to make it a double of a potential quadruple. Later this week, there will be an episode building up to the League Cup final, so hopefully we'll get all the details there. After all the fixtures from this weekend then, let's get to this.
Hi, it's Justin Wong, Kenny Wu from the Muddy Ducks, presenting Zero Pucks giving Britton Division Player of the Week.
This weekend, very competitive, not many teams with 2 games, especially 2 high-quality performances, but with 4 points, 3 goals, 1 assist, 1 man of the match, for the second time in 3 weeks, almost walking his way into the ZPG Team of the Year. The ZPG Britton Division Player of the Week is Ziggy Beasley.
I used to be the king, but they took everything. They even stole my crown.
Well, no fixtures for next week then, with the League Cup final where the Streatham Redhawks will take on the Slough Jets for the silverware over 2 legs. And as I've said, we will build up to the Cup final in a special episode where we will hopefully be speaking to both coaches. We'll look at the results that got them there and see if we can possibly predict an outcome. The table then, where we all know at least one part of it is now confirmed. Your champions, Streatham Redhawks, played 24, won 20, lost 3, 1 overtime loss, 41 points. Still currently in second, the Slough Jets played all 28 games, won 20, lost 8, 40 points. In third, needing 4 points from their last 3 league games, Chelmsford Chieftains played 25, won 17, lost 8, 34 points. In fourth, the Solent Devils played 24, won 14, lost 9, 1 OT loss, 29 points. In fifth, the Invicta Dynamos played 25, won 13, lost 9, 3 overtime losses, also 29 points. Currently home playoff advantage to Solent. In sixth place, the Romford Buccaneers played 23, won 8, lost 12, 3 OT losses, 19 points, eyeing up their Essex rivals in the playoffs. After a weekend off, the Oxford City Stars haven't moved, played 25, won 4, lost 19, 2 OT losses. And finally, after 2 defeats this weekend, the MK Thunder are in 8th, played 22, won 2, lost 24 points. Well, that's the roundup episode in the bank. A busy week here at ZPG HQ as we hopefully have another 2 episodes coming this week. We will have Queen Bee and Team GB star Rachel Cartwright on this week, so really looking forward to that. And then hopefully we build up to the Cup with an episode where we should hopefully have Ben Painter and Lucas Smittle as well. Thank you so much for listening. If you have enjoyed it, please share it on your social media. Give a bit of feedback as well. It's all massively appreciated. Thanks again to the coaches who provide their coaches' thoughts. It's such a brilliant segment of the podcast. And don't forget, of course, to check out our podcast family. The Hockey Art Co. Use the code ZP10 to get 10% off. Manscaped, use the code 0pucks to get 20% off and free shipping. And, of course, the Sports Social Podcast Network. Thank you again for listening, and I'll see you next time. Hey guys, it's Ben from 0 Pucks Given. I just want to tell you a little bit about our new sponsor on the podcast, Manscaped. A lot of modern men now do enjoy some manscaping. I myself, as a bald man, I take care of my hair myself, but I like to keep my beard nice and trim, and I like to keep my eyebrows, my ears, my nose, and my chest and my private area all quite sort of neat and tidy as well. And as someone who's done their own grooming for a long time, I've always struggled to find a trimmer that was actually really, really easy to use, really good quality, and a wireless one particularly that held a good charge. Normally, sort of one go over my beard and that's it, they're dead. So when Manscaped sent me their products and asked to be involved with the podcast, I absolutely jumped at the chance because I've been wanting to try their products for an awful long time. And now I finally have. I can tell you with absolute integrity, this is the best wireless trimmer I have ever used. This is the Manscaped Lawnmower 5.0. It's really, really solid piece of a kit. It's designed brilliantly so it fits in your hand. There's a nice rubber grip on it. The buttons are nice and solid. It's also waterproof, so you can use it in the shower. As an interchangeable head so that you can change it for this little sort of close shave razor there to do the sort of more sensitive areas, get the skin nice and tight and sort of go over that so you don't get any long hairs. One of the most impressive things about this is this blade has skin-safe technology. So even if you're not being overly careful, you will not cut yourself, you will not nick yourself. And when you're doing those sort of more private areas, that's incredibly important and something that I've always struggled with in the past, to find something that was really safe to use in that area. And the fact that you can do this in the shower just means you don't make any mess anywhere either. Now, as a product, that's probably the best wireless trimmer I've used. Obviously, with the width of it, it doesn't fit up your nose or in your ears. So they have the Weed Whacker 2.0. Again, brilliant design so that it fits perfectly in your hand. It's got a really good rubber coating, a really sturdy button, and the motor in it, it sounds like a Tesla when you start it up. And if you just trim your nose hairs and your ears hairs, no pain whatsoever. The motor spins so fast that it just trims everything down really, really low. and it's a fantastic product. Another part of the set they sent me is a little lotion, an aftershave lotion to put on yourself after you've shaved, particularly more in that private area because you don't want any sort of flare-ups going red or any sort of itching to happen down there. And this is absolutely fantastic. And then once you've done that, you can use what they call the crop preserver, which is actually a sort of form of lotion and deodorant for your balls, which is absolutely brilliant. And it's a feeling, particularly as I travel a lot for my work. So I'm sitting in a vehicle a lot of the time driving, and no itching, no chafing whatsoever. This stuff is absolutely amazing. As soon as I run out of this, I'm buying more because it's absolutely terrific. When you get this package from Manscaped, you also get boxer shorts, which are bamboo, and then sort of a silk lining in the middle, which just feels absolutely incredible, and a really solidly built waistband as well, which is brilliant on a good pair of boxer shorts. And I mean, I don't know if this comes in it as well. This T-shirt came with me because I'm going to be promoting Manscaped as long as they want to be involved with the podcast, and I think it's great products. A great little wash bag as well. So if you want to buy any Manscaped products, head over to manscaped.com. Have a little look through what they've got, decide what it is you think is going to be best for you, and then when you check out, make sure you use the code 0PUCKS, all one word, all caps, and that will get you 20% off plus free shipping all over the world. I think it's an absolutely brilliant deal. It's for male grooming. It's the best product I've ever used. As a little side note to that, if you do actually buy some Manscaped products and use the 0PUCKS code, send me a little proof of purchase that you've done that, or a little selfie of yourself when the stuff arrives, and you'll be entered into the draw to win a 0PUCKS given hoodie, which is another little sort of, just another little treat from me, because I want these people involved in the podcast because I really like the product and I think it's a great product. So I would really like you guys to enjoy it as well. And if you're good enough to want to buy it and use the code that you get from this podcast, then I want to give something back to you as well. So thanks for listening. I know that the ads in the podcast can be a little bit of a bore sometimes, but this one is, so it's coming from me because I truly believe in it. So I really hope you enjoy the rest of the episode, and thank you so much for listening.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Fargo, the new virtual assistant from Wells Fargo, makes banking faster and easier. Like this.
Fargo, what's my checking account routing number?
And this.
Fargo, turn off my debit card.
And this.
Fargo, what did I spend on groceries last month?
And that's just the beginning. Do you, Fargo? You can. In the Wells Fargo mobile app. Learn more at wellsfargo.com/getfargo.
Terms and conditions apply. Your mobile carrier's availability and message and data rates may apply. Wells Fargo Bank, N.A., member FDIC.